Welcome to the 14th lecture on representations of finite groups. Today we are going to talk about real characters and real conjugacy classes. We are going to define certain subset of this which we call real characters. Real characters, and similarly we will define subset of the set of all conjugacy classes of your group as real conjugacy classes, and we will show that there is a bijection between them. Let's begin with this definition. You have a group G and take any representation, take its character. If we take only real values, then you say it's a real character. Notice that trivial character is always a real character. The trivial character of any group is a real character. Let's consider another example. Take G to be the cyclic group of order 2. Then we know that it has two distinct characters. I can list them down. Chi1 from G to C star. Okay, so chi1 of any group element is just a complex number 1, and chi2 from G to C star, chi2 of 0 bar is 1, and chi2 of 1 bar is just set as -1. So thus all characters of the cyclic group of order 2 are real. Take G to be the symmetric group on 3 letters. Then we know that G has two degree 1 representations, two irreducible characters of degree 1. One is the trivial character, of course, and other is the sign character, and they both are real valued. In fact, if you recall the only degree 2 irreducible representation of the symmetric group S3, then you see that it's again real valued. Then all characters of S3 are real. Let's see another example. Take G to be the cyclic group of order n, where n is odd. Then we know that the cyclic group of order n has n irreducible characters, and they in fact map onto the nth roots of unity. Since n is odd, the only real root of unity is the trivial root of unity. So therefore, its only real character will be the trivial character. G has no non-trivial real character. Let phi from G to GL and C be a representation of the group G. Conjugate representation, which we denote by phi bar, from G again to GL and C is defined as, so phi bar will take a group element and look at the matrix that you associate to the group G under the original representation phi G and take its complex conjugate. My claim is that it is indeed a representation. First notice that if phi G is in GL and C, then phi G bar is also in GL and C. G and H are two elements of the group G. Then you see that what is phi bar of GH? That by definition is same as phi of GH whole bar, but then phi is a homomorphism, that is same as phi G into phi H whole bar, but this distributes, so that is same as phi G bar into phi H bar, and that is same as phi bar of G into phi bar of H. Hence phi bar is a representation of the group G. Let us make some observations about this conjugate representation proposition. Character of phi bar is just same as character of phi and take its complex conjugate. Phi is irreducible if and only if phi bar is irreducible. So for a complex valued function, for a function f from G to C, let me set this notation first. We define f bar from G to C as simply f bar of a group element is just f of the group element and its complex conjugate. So now what is chi of phi bar acting on a group? This by definition is same as trace of phi bar G, but that by definition is same as trace of phi G whole bar. But what is trace of phi G whole bar? That is same as trace of phi G and then its complex conjugate. What is trace of phi G? That is same as chi of phi of G and take its complex conjugate. That is by definition is same as chi phi bar acting on this group G, right? So this implies that character of complex conjugate of representation is same as complex conjugate of its character. This proves the first part. For the second part, we use the irreducibility criteria, and it is just enough to show one-way implication. Note that inner product of chi phi with itself chi phi by definition is same as 1 by order of the group G summation G in the group G chi phi of G into chi phi of G its bar. Complex multiplication is commutative, so I can just write it as 1 by order of the group G summation G in the group G chi phi of G bar into chi phi of G. That is same as 1 by order of the group G summation G in G. And what is complex conjugate of chi phi of G? That is same as chi phi bar acting on G, right? So that is same as chi phi bar acting on G. And similarly, other can be considered as chi phi of G bar and its bar over that, right? But that is just same as the inner product of chi of phi bar with itself, chi of phi bar, which is just same as inner product of character of phi bar with itself. All right. Thus, inner product of chi phi with itself is 1 if and only if inner product of chi of phi bar with itself is 1. Equivalently, phi is irreducible if and only if phi bar is irreducible. Phi is irreducible if and only if phi bar is irreducible. So this is another way of constructing irreducible representations of a given group. Given a representation, you take the complex conjugate and you know it's irreducible. And then you see that phi and phi bar are equivalent or not. Let us now define real conjugacy classes. Let G be a group and C a conjugacy class of G. Let us write C inverse to be inverses of elements of C. G inverse such that G is in C. It is trivial to check that C inverse is also a conjugacy class of G. We say that the conjugacy class C is real if C is same as C inverse. That is, every element in the conjugacy class C is conjugate to its inverse. For example, if G belong to group G is an order 2 element, is an order 2 element, that is G square is 1, and that is equivalent to saying that G is same as is inverse, which implies that the conjugacy class of G contains G inverse. So if you have an order 2 element in your group, then the conjugacy class of that element is necessarily real. Let us analyze how characters behave on real conjugacy classes. Notice that characters are class functions. Proposition: let chi from G to C be a character and C equals to C inverse a real conjugacy class. a real conjugacy class, then chi of C is same as chi of C whole bar. Let's prove it. Proof. So let phi be the representation of G such that its character chi phi is your chi. Okay. And let us take an element of the group G in the group G. Then observe the following. What is chi of G inverse? That by definition is same as trace of phi of G inverse. But since G is a finite group, without loss of generality, we can assume that our representation is a unitary representation. So each phi sub G is a unitary matrix, and therefore phi G inverse is simply phi G star, the transpose conjugate. So that is same as the trace of phi G star, but that is same as trace of phi G bar, and as observed in the preceding slide, this is same as trace of phi G whole bar, but that is nothing but chi of G whole bar. Therefore, character value at inverse of an element is just same as complex conjugate of the character value at the group element. We will use it to prove the proposition. Thus, we have what is chi of C, which is same as chi of C inverse, because C is given to be same as C inverse, and C inverse consists of inverses of element of G, but those are same as chi of C is bar. That's all. Now to prove our main theorem, we need this basic observation about product of a matrix with a permutation matrix. Let us call it a lemma. You would have probably seen this. Let phi from the symmetric group Sn to G, L, and C be the standard representation of the symmetric group. Be the standard representation of the symmetric group Sn. That is, each permutation in Sn is mapped to the corresponding permutation matrix. And let A belong to Mn by Nc, a fixed matrix. Then for sigma belonging to the symmetric group Sn, look at the product matrix. Phi sigma into A is obtained from A by permuting the rows of A according to sigma. Similarly, A into phi sigma is obtained from A by permuting columns of A according to sigma inverse. I have rephrased this result in the form of representation theory, but it's a basic fact that if you take any matrix and pre-multiply it by a permutation matrix, then that can be obtained from A by permuting rows of A according to the permutation sigma. Similarly, if you post multiply a matrix A by a permutation matrix, that can be written directly from A by permuting columns of A according to sigma inverse. Proof. Consider this product. We want to compute the product, so consider phi sigma into A and find out this entry sigma ij. Then by definition of product of matrices, this is same as phi sigma I kth entry times A k jth entry, right, where this k of course run from 1 to n. All right, but this is just same as A ij. Notice that phi sigma, and if you want to look at its sigma I and kth entry, but phi is the standard representation of symmetric group. So therefore we know what its entries are. This by definition is same as 1 if k is I and 0 otherwise. Thus phi sigma into A is obtained from A by permuting rows of A according to sigma. For the other case, notice that A into phi sigma, I can simply write it as phi sigma transpose into A transpose and then whole transpose. All right, but we know that what is phi sigma transpose? Phi sigma transpose by definition is just same as phi sigma inverse, because phi is a permutation representation. Okay, and just this remains A transpose whole transpose. And now the second assertion follows from the first one, because I have been able to write it as a transpose of phi sigma inverse times some matrix A transpose. So this proves the lemma. Now let us prove the main theorem of today's lecture. It's attributed to Burnside. Let G be a finite group, then the number of real irreducible characters of G is equals to the number of real conjugacy classes of G. Very nice theorem. Let us prove it. Let K be the total number of conjugacy classes in G. Classes in G. Let us enumerate them. So let C1, C2 and so on Ck be the conjugacy classes. And we know that it is same as a number of irreducible characters. So let chi1, chi2 and so on chi be the irreducible characters of the group G. Recall that we have defined two operations, one on the set of all conjugacy classes and other on the set of all irreducible characters of the group G. If you take any conjugacy class, then you can define its inverse, C inverse, which is again a conjugacy class, because if two elements X and Y are conjugate to each other, then X inverse and Y inverse are also conjugate to each other. Similarly, if you take any irreducible character chi I and take its complex conjugate chi I bar, it's again an irreducible character. Okay, in fact it is the character of the complex conjugate of the representation giving the original character. So we have these two operations, one on the set of conjugacy classes and other on the set of all irreducible characters of the group G. So this gives rise to two permutations. Define two permutations alpha and beta in the symmetric group Sk by the following rule. So if we take any character chi I and take its complex conjugate, it is again an irreducible character. So therefore it should coincide with one of the characters from chi1 to chi k. So therefore this is same as chi of alpha of I, okay, for some permutation alpha of Sk. And similarly, if you take the conjugacy class Ci and take its inverse, that is same as C of beta I. How can we count real conjugacy classes and real characters from here? So when will a character chi I will be real? A character chi I will be real if and only if alpha I is I. Similarly, a conjugacy class Ci will be real if and only beta I is I. Thus, we have the number of real characters is same as the fixed point set of alpha, and the number of real conjugacy classes is same as the fixed point set of beta. Since chi bar, and if we further apply bar on that, that is just same as chi I, this implies that alpha is square is same as identity. Similarly, beta square is also identity. Now let us look at the standard representation of the symmetric group Sk. So let phi from Sk to GLKC be the standard representation of Sk. Recall what is the character of the standard representation. Character of the standard representation of the symmetric group just turns out to be the fixed point set of that particular permutation. Then chi phi in particular of alpha is just going to be the number of fixed points of alpha. equals to number of fixed points of alpha. Similarly, chi phi of beta equals to the number of fixed points of beta. Thus, to show that the number of real conjugacy classes is same as the number of real characters is equivalent to saying that the number of fixed points of alpha is same as the number of fixed points of beta. That is to say that chi phi of alpha is same as chi phi of beta. Let A be the character table of the group G. Recall that a character table is a matrix where the columns are indexed by the conjugacy classes and the rows are indexed by the irreducible character. Also, recall the fact that columns of a character table are orthogonal. Therefore, character table is always invertible. By the preceding lemma, the matrix phi alpha into A is obtained from A by permuting the rows of A according to the permutation alpha. But alpha maps chi I to chi I bar. This implies that phi alpha into A is simply A bar. Similarly, A into phi beta is obtained from the matrix A by permuting columns of A according to beta inverse, which is same as beta. Recall that chi of C inverse is same as chi of C whole bar for any conjugacy class C and any character chi. Thus, we get the following, that phi alpha times A is just same as A bar, but A bar is also same as A times phi beta. Since A is invertible, we get that phi alpha is same as A phi beta A inverse, which implies that the trace of phi alpha should be same as trace of phi beta. But remember that phi is the standard representation of the symmetric group Sk, and therefore trace of phi at alpha is just a fixed point set of alpha, which is just same as the number of fixed points of alpha, and this is same as the number of fixed points of beta. But the number of fixed points of alpha is same as the number of real characters, and the number of fixed points of beta is same as the number of real conjugacy classes. This proves the theorem. Let us derive two interesting consequences of the preceding theorem. Let G be a finite group, then order of the group G is odd if and only if G does not admit any non-trivial real irreducible character. Let us prove it. By the preceding theorem, we know that in a finite group, the number of real conjugacy classes is same as the number of real irreducible characters. So thus, to prove the proposition, it is equivalent to showing that a group G is of odd order if and only if its only real conjugacy class is that of the identity element. Suppose that order of the group G is even. Then by Cauchy's theorem, 2 divides order of the group G. Then there exists an element G belonging to G such that G is of order 2, that is G square is 1. That is, G is same as is inverse. But that would imply that conjugacy class of G is same as the conjugacy class of G inverse. Class of G inverse. But G is a non-trivial element. This contradicts the hypothesis. Therefore, if conjugacy class of the identity is the only real conjugacy class in the group G, then order of the group G must be odd. Conversely, suppose that G admits a non-trivial real conjugacy class. Let us denote this conjugacy class by C. Let C be this conjugacy class. And let us take an element in this. Let us say G belong to C. Consider the centralizer of G in the group G. That is, centralizer of G in the group G by definition is all those H in G which commute with this. That is Hg equal to Gh. Then if we consider action of group on itself by conjugation, applying the orbit stabilizer theorem, we have that the size of the conjugacy class of this element G is same as order of the group G divided by centralizer of G in G. Centralizer of G in G. Since C is a real conjugacy class, C is same as C inverse. Since C is same as C inverse, there exists an element H in the group G, so that Hg H inverse is same as G inverse. Look at this identity, S square G H to power conjugate G by square of H, then you see that this is same as H into Hg H inverse into H inverse. But Hg H inverse is same as G inverse, that is same as Hg inverse H inverse, right? But that is same as Hg H inverse whole inverse, which is same as G. What does it imply? This implies that the square of this conjugating element H is in the centralizer of G, which implies that S square belongs to centralizer of G in the group G. Now we look at different possibilities. If H is in the subgroup generated by H square, then what happens? Then H is some power of S square, and S square centralized G, therefore H also centralized G. Then H also belongs to centralizer of G in the whole of the group G. But what does it imply? This implies that Hg H inverse is same as G, but which is also same as G inverse, which implies that G square is 1, that is G is an element of order 2. But remember that G is a non-trivial element because it is a non-trivial conjugacy class representative. By Lagrange's theorem, order of the group G is even in this case, because order of every subgroup divide order of the group G. In particular, a subgroup generated by an element of order 2 should divide order of the group G. Let's look at the other possibility. If H is not in the subgroup generated by S square, then S square cannot be a generator of the subgroup generated by H. Then S square is not a generator of the subgroup generated by H, which implies that 2 divides order of the element H. That is, order of the element H is even. But again, by Lagrange's theorem, order of every element divide order of the group G, which implies that order of the group G is even. This proves the proposition. Let us conclude this lecture by deriving a nice result of Burnside. Let G be a group of odd order. Let G be an odd order group, and K be the number of conjugacy classes in G, and K be the number of conjugacy classes in G. Then K is congruent to order of the group G modulo 16. We are going to use the preceding proposition that a group is of odd order if and only if it does not admit any non-trivial real conjugacy class, or it does not admit any non-trivial real irreducible character. So that means that the non-real irreducible characters or equivalently non-real conjugacy classes, they occur in pairs. Let chi1, chi1 bar, chi2, chi2 bar, and so on, chi L bar be the non-trivial and hence non-real irreducible characters of G. Let degree of chi I and that of chi I bar, because they have the same degree, be, let us say, di. Then we know that if you have enumerated the irreducible representations of a group G, then order of the group G is sums of squares of degrees of this representation. Thus, order of the group G should be degree of the trivial character, which is 1, plus sums of squares of degrees of these representations. So these we have summation of di square, and then is plus di square for its complex conjugate, and this I run from 1 to L, right? That is same as 1 plus summation 2 times of di square I from 1 to L. It follows from dimension theorem that we will prove in lecture number 15 that degree of each irreducible representation of a finite group divides the order of the group. So this theorem we are going to prove later on. So by this theorem, degree of each irreducible representation of a finite group divides order of the group G. This in particular implies that each of these di divides order of the group G, but order of the group G is given to be odd, which implies that each of these di can be written as 1 plus 2mi, right, for some integer mi. Okay, thus we can write order of the group G in this case is equals to 1 plus 2 times summation I from 1 to L and di square, but that is 1 plus 2 times of mi whole square. That is same as 1 plus 2 times summation I from 1 to L, and then when you sum it up, what you get is 1 plus 4 times mi square plus 4 times mi. This can further be written as 1 plus summation of 1 L time, that is just L, so it is 1 plus 2L, I can take it out, this, plus then this 4 can be taken out, it becomes 8 times summation I going from 1 to L, and it become mi into mi plus 1. If mi is even, then mi plus 1 is odd, and if mi is odd, then mi plus 1 is even. Therefore this sum of mi into mi plus 1 I from 1 to L is always going to be even. So if you read mod 16, this vanishes. So therefore this is congruent to 1 plus 2L mod 16. Now to complete the proof, just recall that in a finite group the number of conjugacy classes is same as the number of irreducible characters. The number of conjugacy classes is given to be k, which should be same as the total number of irreducible characters, and we have enumerated the non-real ones as chi1 chi1 bar, chi2 chi2 bar, and chi L bar. So there are 2L of them plus one trivial character, so 1 plus 2L. So this implies that order of the group G is congruent to K mod 16. This completes the proof of the theorem. So I will stop here. Thank you.